But if you want to speak of the real summer blockbuster of 2007, the answer was composed of a little too much Shia LaBeouf and not nearly enough robots in disguise. The game, thankfully, corrects that mistake. Here is Transformers.
This world will not be ready for our war.
Transformers the game chronicles the war between two opposing factions of giant alien robots whose millennia-long conflict comes to a head over a pair of antique eyeglasses owned by a 16-year-old kid on Earth. Hey, why not? You pick either the Autobots or the Decepticons and work towards your heroic or evil goals, respectively. The game makes a good first impression. You can move around at will, the scale feels good, the transforming looks great. You can destroy just about anything with explosive results. Transformers is an unquestionably pretty game and gives you the feeling of controlling a giant transforming robot like no other game before it. You even get the legendary Frank Welker returning as the original voice of Megatron.
You'll witness the true meaning of terror.
Although Megatron does walk like a goofball. He also hates trees. It's all very similar to Hulk Ultimate Destruction, except you can turn into a car. Levels of free roaming with story missions marked on the map for you to tackle at your leisure. Trouble is, there's not a lot to do other than those missions. There are mini games to complete and stuff to collect. Each level has 100 Energon cubes to gather. I'm missing one in this level, and I'm never, ever going to find it.
Transform and roll out.
So you're effectively stuck plowing through the story, which consists of generic and not too fun timed missions. Nearly every mission has some stupid action zone you have to stay inside or else you fail. The mushy driving controls can make this extremely frustrating. Several of the missions make little sense. Here, Starscream has to shoot planes down and then pick up their wreckage to extract data from them. What? Try keeping a running tally of the thoroughly un-Autobot things the Autobot campaign makes you do. Apparently, Jazz does not much care for the police. When you're not murdering humans, you're battling bosses or drones. Most of your enemies have an annoying tendency to be immune to projectile attacks. A good solid punch is usually the best solution, but sometimes even that isn't enough. Numerous enemies in the game can only be injured after throwing an object at them to knock them out of their literally invincible attack modes. There had to have been a better way to add challenge. Transformers isn't truly bad, just unimpressive. There are a couple of great unlockables for old-school Transformers fans, like the original Optimus Prime and Megatron. Original Megatron also hates trees. But it's still disappointing that we got such a strikingly average game out of such a cool concept. A 3.
You'll not cause any more destruction, Decepticon.
Out of 5.
We are done here.
Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is one of those movie games that you figure has to be better than the movie. I mean, in case you haven't seen it yet, here's my capsule review. I've had more pleasurable root canals.
Look out, Autobot! Get to safety!
The game is, thankfully, less apt to be unfavorably compared to dental procedures. As with the previous Transformers movie game, you pick the Autobots or Decepticons and play through a series of missions vaguely following the plot of the film. Unlike the first game, this one has a lot more thought put into making the Transformers control well. Instead of hitting a button to transform back and forth, you hold the right trigger to stay in vehicle mode and release it to change back. The controls are a bit convoluted and casual players will probably feel lost, but with some effort you can become a lean, mean Cybertronian machine.
Nothing will stop us now.
The rest of the single-player campaign isn't quite up to snuff.
Autobot, you hurt! Fall back!
There are 4 main environments, 3 of which are just cities, and 1 extra carrier fleet mission out in the Atlantic Ocean. The missions boil down to bland shooting galleries or escort routines.
We're moving out! Thanks for the escort!
It feels rather sterile. Worst of all, there's a timer going through the whole thing, encouraging you to hurry up and get it over with.
Well done, but you must keep moving.
Rather than explore and take your time. Never rush a woman with a fusion cannon. Transformers themselves look nice, if you don't mind the Bayformer designs. And while there are no real cutscenes to speak of, the in-game voice acting is good and features the original Optimus and Megatron. Soundwave even sounds right, unlike in the film.
I am monitoring your damage.
The battle against Devastator is also better than the movies, primarily because there is one. Plus, Devastator does not have wrecking balls hanging from his crotch. I assume because the people who made the game aren't 12 years old.
You got it! It's going down!
The best part of the game is actually the multiplayer, which pits up to 8 players against each other in a variety of online modes. Here's where the controls show how versatile they are and allow you to really feel like an Autobot or Decepticon ripping up your enemies.
The Decepticons will not be stopped!
If you loved the movie, and for some reason a lot of you did, it's worth a weekend rental. A 3
You're fighting an uphill battle.
out of 5.
The Constructicon is destroyed. Once again, you have proven your worth.
Remember back in the day when we all thought it would be a great thing to have giant robots bashing the ever-loving mechanical crap out of each other? Well, about 4 years ago, some guy must have grabbed a monkey's paw and made that exact wish. Since then, we've been inundated with action that's best described as 2 Coke cans in a blender. And now we get Transformers Dark of the Moon, the video game. Dark of the Moon, not to be confused with the awesome Pink Floyd album, explains the events leading up to the movie. As expected, it's filled with marketing meetings, Michael Bay lining his coffers, and Shia LaBeouf finding nothing better to do for the rest of his life or his career. Oh, and there are Autobots looking for Decepticons around the world. The single-player campaign separates into 7 fairly linear chapters where you leap from bot to bot, hoping that your next leap will be into something good. I believe salvageable is a good term for each of these levels designed for a particular Transformer. Gameplay moves from uploading a virus into the satellite mainframe, trying out a little stealth, or even taking on a big boss. There are weapons to mess around with as well as special attacks. Yes, there are shades of War for Cybertron, High Moon's previous Transformer title, but nothing seems to live up to what made that previous game so great. One of the big changes is your transformation into Stealth Force, which means you're a car with guns. When you have 4 on the floor, you gain a significant amount of defense, can auto-aim shots, and can dish out more damage. In short, Dark of the Moon may just be the first Transformers game where you'd rather play most of the game as a car instead of a robot with giant guns. Congratulations! Here's a quick tip. I actually want to play as a robot with giant guns! And for once, I am not referring to Rosie Huntington-Whiteley in the movie. Multiplayer, which was a highlight in War for Cybertron, has been stripped down to its basic parts. You can still pick out Transformers from a couple of different classes and customize them with different weapons and special abilities. Instead of the robust number of modes as before, you only have a handful to pick from. And again, it pays to stay in your vehicle form rather than play as a badass robot. Transformers Dark of the Moon lets you hunt down Decepticons, but you'd be better off playing War for Cybertron, picking up a Victoria's Secret catalog, and not spending $12 at the theater. That's why we're giving it a 2 out of 5.